There is unrest in almost all European countries. Farmers are in the streets, farmers are demonstrating, they are protesting against low prices and against agricultural policy. Now, the big question is, what are the causes of this social unrest in the farming sector? And if you listen to farmers' representatives and unions and even journalists, then what is presented as the main cause is the European policy, the constraints, environmental constraints, etc., etc. But behind all this, what you have is that a lot of farmers in Europe have very, very low incomes. And they have very low incomes because we have a system in which most farmers have to buy a lot of inputs, especially fertilizers imported. They need to invest a lot in buildings, in machines, etc., because we have this system of what we call productivism in the agri-food sector. And that weakens, in fact, the position of farmers. And in addition to that, of course, there are conjunctural causes like inflation, like the war in Ukraine, which has led to opening up the borders for imports from Ukraine, like chicken and cereals, etc. So all this together brings to this kind of social unrest in the EU. The EU is proposing a very ambitious transformation strategy for agriculture, which is called From Farm to Fork. This transformation plan is part of the broader Green Deal strategy for the EU, and so the objective is clear. The objective is to reduce the environmental impact of agriculture and to improve the sustainability of the food system, and also to provide what they call an affordable and healthy food for European consumers. And all this is quite important, of course, especially because the current agricultural system and agri-food system in Europe is one in which the environmental impact is very negative, and in which the impact on human health is also quite negative. The problem at the moment is that this strategy has been aiming mostly at the transformation of agriculture and not so much at transforming the whole system. Because if we really want to have a healthier and more sustainable agricultural system, then what we need to transform is the whole system, including food habits, in fact. So it's not only farmers, but it's the whole of society that has to be changed in some sense. And that's, of course, very difficult. And what is not in the strategy is how to transform all this and how to have the farm sector embedded in this larger transformation, in fact. Information and education of consumers is extremely important. At the moment, for instance, the rules, European rules for labeling, etc., are not good, in the sense that consumers are not well informed about the origins of the goods they consume, etc., etc. In the meantime, what is, I think, important is to reform the common agricultural policy, to target the income support subsidies towards more virtuous agricultural practices, etc. But there is a strong opposition from the agribusiness industry, because, of course, this is not their interest. Part of the strategy aims at reducing the use of pesticides and also of chemical fertilizers, because we know it's bad for the environment and also bad for health. But again, I mean, most farmers, they just don't know how to do without it. So I think what is also important is to promote alternative techniques, alternative ways of running a farm, so that you can demonstrate that it is possible. And in fact, it is possible, because there are farmers who have been doing that for decades and managed to do it, and sometimes live even better than the so-called conventional farming techniques.